Hashtag he saved me. Part 1. Queen Zarathel stood on the crystalline balcony of her palace, her 6 arms trembling as she gazed into the star-filled void. 3 months had passed since her daughter Princess Lyraneth had vanished during what should have been a routine diplomatic mission to the Outer Rim territories. The Kethmori Empire had sent their best search fleets, but they found nothing except debris from her escort ships floating in the cold darkness of space. The Queen's compound eyes, each the size of a human fist, reflected the light of distant suns. Her chitinous exoskeleton, normally a brilliant shade of royal purple, had dulled to a sickly gray since the disappearance. The loss of an heir was devastating enough, but Lyraneth was special. She was the first Kethmori princess born with the rare gift of empathic communication, able to sense emotions across species barriers. This ability made her invaluable for diplomatic relations with the hundreds of alien races that made up their galactic confederation. "Your Majesty," came a voice from behind her. General Vextar, her military advisor, approached with careful steps. His own exoskeleton bore the scars of countless battles, and his mandibles clicked nervously. "The search fleets have returned from Sector 7. Still no sign of the princess or her captors." Zarathel's antennae drooped further. The Shadowkin Syndicate had claimed responsibility for the attack, but even they seemed to have vanished without a trace. These pirates were known throughout the galaxy for their ruthlessness and their ability to disappear into the dark spaces between star systems. They dealt in the worst kind of cargo, sentient beings sold as slaves to the highest bidder. "Have we received any ransom demands?" the Queen asked, though she already knew the answer. "None, Your Majesty. Intelligence suggests they may have sold her immediately to avoid pursuit. You know how valuable empathic abilities are on the black market." The thought made Zarathel's blood run cold. Her daughter's gift would make her incredibly valuable to anyone seeking to manipulate or control other species. Crime lords, corrupt politicians, even hostile governments would pay fortunes for someone who could read emotions and intentions. In the depths of the palace, the royal advisors whispered among themselves. Some suggested accepting the loss and naming a new heir. Others pushed for increasingly desperate military operations that could destabilize the entire sector. The Queen had rejected all of these suggestions, but she could feel the pressure mounting. The Kethmori Empire needed stable leadership, and a grieving queen was seen as a liability. "Your Majesty," General Vextar continued, "the Council of Ministers has requested another audience. They're growing concerned about the resources being devoted to the search." "Let them be concerned," Zarathel replied sharply. "I will not abandon my daughter while there's still hope she lives." But privately, even she was beginning to doubt. 3 months was a long time in the slave trade. Her intelligence networks had found no trace of Lyraneth in any of the known markets. It was as if she had simply vanished from the galaxy entirely. The Queen turned back toward her throne room, her heavy footsteps echoing through the crystal corridors. Holographic displays showed the locations of search fleets, investigation reports, and the faces of known Shadowkin operatives. None of it had led anywhere useful. As she settled onto her throne, a massive seat carved from a single piece of star metal, Zarathel allowed herself to remember happier times. Lyraneth as a young grub, her small form barely visible in the royal nursery pools. Her first words, spoken in 3 different languages simultaneously. The day she had first demonstrated her empathic abilities by calming a terrified ambassador from species the Kethmori had never encountered before. The princess had always been curious about other species, especially the newer ones joining their confederation. She had studied their histories, learned their languages, and insisted on meeting their representatives personally. It was this curiosity that had led to the diplomatic mission in the first place. A new species called humans had established a small colony in the Outer Rim, and Lyraneth had volunteered to make first contact. The irony was bitter. Her daughter's greatest strength, her ability to connect with others, had led directly to her capture. If she had stayed in the safe, sterile environment of the royal court, she would still be here. A communication alert interrupted the Queen's thoughts. Her aide, Minister Krelvash, appeared on a holographic display. His usually calm demeanor seemed agitated. "Your Majesty, we're receiving an unscheduled transmission from the Outer Rim. The signal is weak and heavily encrypted, but our texts believe it might be from the princess. For the first time in months, hope flickered in Queen Zarathel's hearts. Hashtag he saved me. Part 2. The transmission chamber buzzed with activity as technicians worked frantically to clean up the signal. Queen Zarathel stood before the main display, her 6 arms clasped tightly together, watching static-filled images flicker across the screen. General Vextar and the Royal Council gathered behind her, their breathing creating a low hum of anticipation. "Can you enhance it further?" the Queen demanded. "We're trying, Your Majesty, but the signal is coming from very far away, possibly beyond our mapped territories," replied Chief Technician Mordal, her claws dancing across multiple control interfaces simultaneously. Suddenly, the static cleared, and a face appeared on the screen. It was unmistakably Princess Lyraneth, but she looked different. Her usually pristine exoskeleton showed signs of wear and minor damage, and there was something in her compound eyes that hadn't been there before, a hardness, a maturity born of hardship. "Mother," Lyraneth's voice came through clearly now, and Queen Zarathel nearly collapsed with relief at hearing it again. "My daughter, where are you? Are you hurt? We'll send a fleet immediately." "Mother, please listen," Lyraneth interrupted gently. "I'm safe now, but I need you to hear what I have to say. I'm with someone who saved my life. His name is Marcus Chun, and he's human." Behind the princess, a figure moved into view, and the royal court gasped collectively. The human was tall by galactic standards, with pale skin and dark hair cropped short. His clothing appeared to be some sort of military uniform, though not from any service the Kethmori recognized. What struck them most, however, was his eyes. They held an alertness and determination that reminded the queen of her finest warriors. "Your Majesty," the human said, and his voice was surprisingly deep and calm. "My name is Marcus Chun, formerly Sergeant First Class with the Human Colonial Marine Corps. Your daughter is under my protection." General Vextar stepped forward, his mandibles clicking with suspicion. "Human, explain how our princess came to be in your custody. Are you responsible for her disappearance?" Marcus shook his head. "No, sir. I found her 3 weeks ago on Kepler Station, about to be sold in a slave auction. The Shadowkin had been moving her through a network of black market dealers. By the time I located her, she'd been—" He paused, glancing at Lyraneth with something that looked almost protective. "She'd been through hell." Lyraneth moved closer to Marcus, and the queen noticed how her daughter seemed to draw strength from the human's presence. "Mother, when the Shadowkin attacked our convoy, they used some sort of neural disruptor that temporarily blocked my empathic abilities. I couldn't sense their intentions until it was too late. They killed my guards and took me to a processing facility where they—" Her voice faltered. "They were preparing to sell her empathic abilities to the highest bidder." Marcus continued when Lyraneth couldn't go on. "The process would have been permanent. It would have burned out her neural pathways." Queen Zarathel felt her legs nearly give out. The procedure Marcus described was known to their medical experts. It was considered a form of torture so cruel that it was banned by every civilized government in the galaxy. "How did you come to be involved in this, human?" Minister Krelvash asked. "I was hunting the same Shadowkin cell that took the princess," Marcus replied. "They'd been raiding human colonies for months, taking our people for the slave trade. I've been tracking them for weeks when I discovered they had something special, a Kethmori royal with empathic abilities." "You acted alone?" General Vextar asked, clearly incredulous. Lyraneth spoke up. "Mother, you don't understand what humans are capable of." Marcus infiltrated a heavily fortified slave processing station by himself. He fought through dozens of guards, disabled their security systems, and extracted not just me, but 47 other captives from 17 different species. The royal court murmured among themselves. A single individual taking on an entire Shadowkin operation seemed impossible, yet here was the princess, clearly rescued. Marcus shifted uncomfortably at the praise. "I had good intelligence and better motivation. The Shadowkin took someone from my unit on one of their earlier raids. I was getting her back, one way or another." "Did you succeed?" Queen Zarathel asked quietly. The human's expression darkened. "Sarah didn't make it. The procedure was already done when I found her. But I made sure the bastards responsible would never hurt anyone else again. There was something in the way he said it that made even General Vextar step back slightly. The Queen realized that this human, despite his calm demeanor, was quite possibly one of the most dangerous individuals she'd ever encountered. After the rescue, Lyraneth continued, Marcus could have simply dropped me off at the nearest Kethmori outpost. But the Shadowkin weren't finished. They sent hunters after us, professional killers who specialize in recapturing escaped slaves. Marcus has been protecting me while we tried to establish secure communications with the Empire. We've been moving through human territory for the past 2 weeks, Marcus added. The princess has been helping me understand more about galactic politics and the slave trade networks. In return, I've been keeping her safe while she recovers from her ordeal. Queen Zarathel studied the human more carefully. There was something about the way he stood near her daughter, protective but not possessive, respectful but not subservient. And there was something in Lyraneth's demeanor when she looked at him that the Queen had never seen before. This human, she said slowly, you trust him completely? Lyraneth nodded without hesitation. With my life, Mother. He's already saved it more times than I can count. The Queen made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Then he is welcome in our space and in our home. Hashtag he saved me. Part 3. The Royal Spaceport of Kethmari Prime had never seen anything like it. A small, battered human freighter descended through the atmospheric shields, escorted by a full squadron of the Empire's most elite warships. Queen Zarathel stood on the landing platform, surrounded by her court, watching as her daughter returned home after 3 months of terror and uncertainty. The freighter's landing ramp lowered with a mechanical hiss, and Princess Lyraneth emerged first. She wore simple travel clothes rather than royal regalia, and her movements carried a new confidence that hadn't been there before. Behind her came Marcus Chun, and, seeing him in person rather than through a transmission screen, the assembled nobles were struck by just how different humans were from any species they'd encountered. Where most galactic species had evolved specialized physical features, claws, natural armor, enhanced senses, humans seemed almost plain by comparison. But there was something in the way Marcus moved, a controlled readiness that suggested hidden depths of capability. Mother, Lyraneth said, approaching the Queen and performing the traditional greeting gesture. I have returned, and I bring with me a friend who has risked everything for my safety. Queen Zarathel stepped forward and, to the surprise of everyone present, performed the same greeting gesture to Marcus. In Kethmori culture, this was typically reserved for equals or honored allies. Marcus Chun of Earth, she said formally, the Kethmori Empire owes you a debt that can never be fully repaid. Marcus looked uncomfortable with the attention. Your Majesty, I was just doing what was right. Besides, your daughter saved my life too, more than once. General Vextar approached, his scarred exoskeleton gleaming in the afternoon sun. Human, I must ask, how exactly did you accomplish what our entire military could not? Our intelligence services have been hunting the Shadowkin for years without significant success. You were thinking like a government, Marcus replied, trying to work within laws and treaties, worried about diplomatic incidents. I was thinking like a soldier with nothing left to lose. Sometimes the direct approach is the most effective one. Lyraneth stepped closer to Marcus. General, you should know that humans have been fighting the Shadowkin for months. Their colonies have been under constant attack, but they've been handling it on their own. Marcus showed me intelligence reports. They've destroyed 7 Shadowkin bases and rescued hundreds of captives. This caused a stir among the royal advisors. Minister Krelvash spoke up. Princess, if humans have been this successful against the Shadowkin, why haven't we heard anything through diplomatic channels? Because we're new to this galaxy, Marcus answered. We've only been spacefaring for about 50 years, and we've only had faster-than-light travel for the last 20. We didn't even know there were organized governments out here until recently. We've been handling the pirate problem ourselves because we thought we were on our own. You mean to tell me, General Vextar said slowly, that humans have been conducting military operations against the Shadowkin without any support from established galactic powers? We don't have a choice, Marcus replied. When someone attacks human colonies and takes human civilians, we respond. We don't have the luxury of diplomatic solutions when our people are being tortured and sold. Queen Zarathel was beginning to understand why her daughter spoke of this human with such respect. The idea of a young species taking on one of the galaxy's most dangerous criminal organizations, alone and without backup, was either incredibly brave or incredibly foolish. The results suggested it was the former. Marcus, the Queen said, I would like to hear more about these operations. Perhaps we could discuss this over a meal? I'm sure you're both tired from your journey. As they moved toward the palace, Lyraneth walked beside her mother while Marcus followed at a respectful distance. The princess leaned close to the Queen and spoke quietly. Mother, there's something else you need to know about humans. During our time together, I used my empathic abilities to better understand Marcus and his people. What I found, it changed how I see everything. What do you mean? Humans feel things differently than we do. When they form bonds, friendship, love, loyalty, it's absolute. Marcus didn't save me because of duty or politics or even basic decency. He saved me because once he decided I was under his protection, abandoning me became literally unthinkable to him. The Queen considered this. Many species value loyalty, my daughter. Not like this, mother. When humans decide something is worth protecting, they don't calculate odds or consider consequences. They simply act. Marcus told me about something called the human wave. When one of their soldiers falls, others will charge through enemy fire to retrieve them, even when it's tactically unsound. They'll die before they leave someone behind. As they entered the palace, Queen Zarathel watched Marcus examining their surroundings. His eyes missed nothing: defensive positions, exit routes, potential threats. Even here, in the heart of the safest location in the Empire, he remained alert and ready. Your Majesty, Marcus said as they walked through the crystal corridors, I need to be honest with you about something. The Shadowkin know the princess is here. They put a massive bounty on her head, and they're not going to give up. My being here has probably made your plan a target. General Vextar bristled. Human, this is the most heavily defended world in the Empire. No pirate force would dare. The Shadowkin aren't pirates anymore, Marcus interrupted. They're desperate. Princess Lyraneth's escape cost them millions of credits and exposed their entire operation in this sector. They're going to come for her, and they're going to come hard. Then, we'll be ready for them, the general declared. Marcus nodded slowly. I hope so, because they're not going to send a raiding party this time. They're going to send everything they have. Later that evening, as the royal family gathered for a private dinner, Queen Zarathel watched the interaction between her daughter and the human. There was clearly a bond between them, forged in the crucible of shared danger. But, more than that, she could see that Lyraneth had changed. The sheltered princess who had left 3 months ago was gone, replaced by someone stronger, more confident, more aware of the galaxy's darker realities. Marcus, the Queen said, what will you do now? Your mission was to rescue our daughter, and you've succeeded. Surely you want to return to your own people. Marcus glanced at Lyraneth before answering. With respect, Your Majesty, my mission isn't complete. The princess is safe for now, but the Shadowkin are still out there. They're still taking people, still destroying lives. As long as that continues, my job isn't finished. The Queen realized that her daughter had been right about human loyalty. This man had appointed himself the princess's protector, and nothing short of death would make him abandon that responsibility. #He saved me. Part 4 of the attack came at dawn, just as Marcus had predicted. Alarms screamed across Kethmari Prime as sensors detected a massive fleet dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. Queen Zarathel rushed to the command center, where holographic displays showed more than 200 ships bearing Shadowkin markings approaching at maximum speed. Impossible, General Vextar muttered, his mandibles clicking rapidly. Intelligence reports indicated the Shadowkin never operated with more than 20 ships at once. Where did this fleet come from? Marcus stood beside the tactical display, having been granted emergency clearance to the command center. His face was grim, but unsurprised. They've called in every favor, cashed in every asset, and probably formed alliances with other criminal organizations. This isn't just about the princess anymore. This is about their survival as a power in the galaxy. Sir, called out communications officer Darvex. We're receiving a transmission from the lead ship. A holographic figure materialized in the center of the room. It was a Shadowkin leader, its reptilian features twisted with rage. The species was known for their cold, calculating nature, but This one showed signs of barely controlled fury. Queen Zerathel, the creature hissed, "You harbor stolen property. Return the defective empath and the human terrorist who has been destroying our operations, and we will consider withdrawing from your system." Defective? Princess Lyraneth had arrived with her mother and now stepped forward, her own anger flaring. "You torture me for weeks, try to burn out my mind for profit, and now you call me defective?" The Shadowkin's eyes fixed on her. "Ah, the little princess speaks. You cost us 17 million credits and the lives of over 200 operatives. Your human pet's rampage through our facilities has set back our operations by years. Both of you will be returned to us for processing." "That's not going to happen," Marcus said quietly, but his voice carried clearly across the comm channel. The famous Marcus Chun, the Shadowkin leader, laughed, a sound like grinding stone. "Do you see the fleet outside your precious planet? We have enough firepower to crack this world's defenses. Surrender now, and we'll kill you quickly." "You're making a mistake," Marcus replied, and something in his tone made everyone in the command center turn to look at him. "You're not just attacking a Kethmori princess anymore. You're attacking someone under human protection." The Shadowkin leader seemed confused. "Human protection? You're one soldier, human. What can your pathetic species do against our might?" Marcus smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. "Computer, open communications channel to all frequencies, full broadcast range." General Vextar started to object, but Queen Zerathel held up a hand to stop him. Something in Marcus's confidence suggested he knew exactly what he was doing. "This is Sergeant Marcus Chun, Human Colonial Marine Corps, broadcasting on all frequencies," Marcus announced. "The Shadowkin Syndicate has just threatened to destroy Kethmari Prime to capture a human-protected individual. I am activating Protocol 7. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, alarms began sounding on every ship in the Shadowkin fleet as new contacts appeared on their sensors. Hundreds of them, coming from every direction. The command center's displays updated to show the new arrivals. Sleek, angular ships that none of the Kethmori had ever seen before, but which Marcus recognized immediately. Human warships, more advanced than anything the galaxy had encountered, emerging from stealth positions throughout the system. "What is this?" General Vextar demanded. "The Human Colonial Defense Fleet," Marcus explained. "We've been watching this system since I transmitted the location 3 days ago. When humans say someone is under their protection, we mean it. The lead human vessel, a massive dreadnought that dwarfed even the largest Kethmori ships, opened communications. The face that appeared was weathered and scarred, clearly a veteran of many conflicts. "This is Admiral Sarah Martinez of the HCDF Relentless," came the transmission. "Shadowkin vessels, you are in violation of human protective protocols. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." The Shadowkin leader's confidence faltered as his sensors provided more data about the human fleet. "Impossible. Your species doesn't have this level of technology." Admiral Martinez's expression was ice-cold. "You've been raiding our colonies for months, killing our people, enslaving our children. Did you think we wouldn't respond? Did you think we wouldn't adapt? Human engineering advances very quickly when we're motivated." Princess Lyraneth moved closer to Marcus, her empathic abilities allowing her to sense the emotions radiating from the human fleet. What she felt made her gasp. "Marcus, your people, they're not just here for me, are they?" "No," Marcus replied quietly. "Every ship out there has crew members who've lost someone to the Shadowkin. This isn't just about protecting you anymore. This is about ending them." The Shadowkin leader tried to salvage the situation. "This is a sovereign Kethmori system. You have no authority here, humans." Queen Zerathel stepped forward, her voice carrying the full weight of royal authority. "I hereby grant the Human Defense Fleet full military authorization to operate in this system. Consider them allies of the Kethmori Empire." What followed was less a battle than a demonstration. The human ships moved with precision and coordination that spoke of advanced tactical systems and extensive combat experience. Their weapons were unlike anything in the galactic database. Focused energy beams that cut through Shadowkin shields like paper, and kinetic projectiles that moved at significant fractions of light speed. The Shadowkin fleet, which had seemed so overwhelming moments before, was systematically dismantled. Ships that tried to flee found themselves caught by faster human vessels. Those that attempted to fight discovered their weapons were largely ineffective against human shielding technology. Within 2 hours, it was over. Most of the Shadowkin fleet had been destroyed, with the survivors captured for intelligence purposes. The threat that had terrorized the galaxy for years had been eliminated by a species most governments didn't even know existed. In the aftermath, as rescue ships began collecting survivors and securing the wreckage, Admiral Martinez transported down to meet with Queen Zarathel personally. "Your Majesty," the Admiral said, "I want to apologize for the deception. We've been operating in this galaxy for months, but we prefer to remain unnoticed while we dealt with the Shadowkin problem." "Why reveal yourselves now?" the Queen asked. The Admiral looked at Marcus and Princess Lyraneth. "Because Sergeant Shin activated Protocol 7. When a human declares someone under our protection, that declaration is backed by the full might of humanity. The princess became one of us the moment Marcus decided to save her." General Vextar stepped forward, his tactical mind processing the implications of what they'd witnessed. "Admiral, your fleet's capabilities far exceed anything in our databases. How advanced is human technology?" Admiral Martinez exchanged a look with Marcus before answering. "General, we've been in a state of total war with the Shadowkin for 8 months. Every resource humanity possesses has been focused on developing better ways to find them, fight them, and defeat them. War has a way of accelerating technological development." "And now?" Queen Zarathel asked. "Now," the Admiral replied, "we'd like to discuss establishing formal diplomatic relations between humanity and the Kethmori Empire. It seems we have common enemies and shared interests." Princess Lyraneth smiled, her empathic abilities telling her that this moment would change the galaxy forever. Humanity had just announced its presence in the most dramatic way possible, and the princess who had been taken as a helpless victim had returned as the catalyst for a new galactic alliance. #He saved me. Part 5. 6 months later, the Great Council Chamber of Kethmari Prime hosted the largest diplomatic gathering in galactic history. Representatives from over 300 species had come to witness the signing of the Terra Kethmori Alliance, the first formal treaty between humanity and an established galactic power. Queen Zarathel stood at the center podium, her royal regalia gleaming under the chamber's lights. To her right stood Admiral Martinez, representing Earth's unified government. But it was the figure to her left that drew the most attention, Princess Lyraneth, now bearing the newly created title of Ambassador Extraordinary, responsible for human-alien relations. "Today," Queen Zarathel announced to the assembled delegates, "we formalize an alliance born not from political calculation, but from the most fundamental of bonds, one being willing to sacrifice everything for another." The months since the destruction of the Shadowkin fleet had transformed the galaxy's political landscape. The revelation that humans possessed technology and military capabilities that exceeded most established powers had sent shockwaves through every government. Some species had approached with offers of alliance, others with threats, and still others with simple curiosity about these newcomers who had appeared seemingly from nowhere. In the royal box overlooking the chamber, Marcus Chun watched the proceedings with a mixture of pride and discomfort. He'd been offered numerous honors and positions, all of which he'd politely declined. He remained what he'd always been, a soldier, albeit one whose actions had changed the course of galactic history. "You know," came a familiar voice, "you could have been an ambassador yourself if you'd wanted." Marcus turned to see his commanding officer, Colonel Rebecca Stone, settling into the seat beside him. She'd arrived that morning as part of Earth's official diplomatic delegation. "Politics isn't my strong suit," Marcus replied. "I prefer things simple." "Simple?" Colonel Stone laughed. "Marcus, you've started an interstellar alliance, revolutionized galactic military doctrine, and become the first human to receive a royal honor from an alien government. Nothing about your life is simple anymore." Below them, Princess Lyraneth was addressing the assembly, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustics. "The relationship between humanity and the Kethmori Empire represents something new in galactic politics. It is based not on territorial gain or resource exploitation, but on mutual respect and shared values." Marcus watched her with obvious pride. The princess had thrown herself into her new role with enthusiasm, spending weeks with human diplomats and military advisors, learning about Earth's history and culture. Her natural empathic abilities, combined with her intelligence and diplomatic training, made her uniquely suited to bridge the gap between species. She's remarkable, Colonel Stone observed, following his gaze. She is, Marcus agreed simply. The reports say she's refused several marriage proposals from other royal houses since returning. Any idea why? Marcus didn't answer, but his expression suggested he had some thoughts on the matter. Down in the chamber, Admiral Martinez was now speaking about humanity's intentions in the galaxy. Earth has no interest in conquest or domination. We seek only the same thing every species wants, the right to exist safely and to grow in peace. The Shadowkin threatened that right, not just for humans, but for countless other species. That's why we acted. The Admiral's words were carefully chosen, but everyone present understood the underlying message. Humanity might be new to the galactic community, but they possessed both the power and the will to protect their interests and their allies. After the formal treaty signing, as dignitaries mingled and celebrated, Princess Lyraneth found Marcus on the palace's observation deck, looking out at the stars. Hiding from the party? She asked, moving to stand beside him. Just getting some air, he replied. All that diplomacy makes me nervous. You know, Mother offered you a permanent position as my security advisor. I heard. I also heard you turn down 3 marriage proposals this week. Lyraneth was quiet for a moment. Marcus, what do you know about Keth-Mori bonding customs? Just what you've told me. What? When a Keth-Mori forms a life bond, it's considered sacred. We bond for life, and the connection goes deeper than just emotional attachment. My empathic abilities make it even more intense. She turned to face him. During our time together, especially during the dangerous moments, I formed that kind of bond. Marcus looked at her carefully. Lyraneth, I know what you're going to say. We're different species from different worlds with different lives. The politics alone would be impossible. Actually, Marcus said quietly, I was going to say that I've been having the same problem. She blinked in surprise. You have. Humans have a saying, once a Marine, always a Marine. But there's another one that's more relevant. Never leave a man behind. The thing is, I've never been able to figure out how to complete my mission with you. Your mission was to rescue me. That's done. No, Marcus shook his head. My mission was to keep you safe. That's a lifetime commitment. Princess Lyraneth felt her heart's race as she realized what he was saying. Through her empathic abilities, she could sense the depth of his feelings, the absolute certainty of his commitment. Marcus Chun, she said formally, are you asking what I think you're asking? Your Highness, he replied, matching her formal tone, I'm saying that if you'll have me, I'd like to make this protection detail permanent. Her answer was to step closer and place her hand in his. I think that could be arranged. Later that evening, as the celebration continued in the palace, Queen Zarathel stood once again on her crystal balcony. But this time, she wasn't alone in her grief and worry. This time, she watched with joy as her daughter danced with a human soldier who had given her back her life. General Vextar approached, carrying a report tablet. Your Majesty, the intelligence summary you requested. What have we learned about humanity's true capabilities? Enough to be grateful they're our allies and not our enemies, the general replied. Their military technology is at least 50 years ahead of anything else in the galaxy. Their industrial capacity appears to be massive, and their willingness to use overwhelming force when threatened is impressive. And their intentions? As far as we can determine, exactly what they claim. They want to be left alone to grow and prosper, but they'll defend themselves and their allies with everything they have. Vextar Pos, Your Majesty, the humans have changed everything. The old balance of power, the established alliances, the way we think about warfare, it's all different now. Queen Zarathel nodded. Yes, and it all started because one human soldier decided that my daughter was worth saving. She thought about the phrase Princess Lyraneth had taught her, something Marcus had said during their escape from the Shadowkin. No one left behind. It was apparently a core principle of human military doctrine, but it seemed to extend far beyond that. It was a philosophy of absolute loyalty and commitment that her people were still learning to understand. In the months to come, that philosophy would reshape galactic politics. Species that had been enemies for centuries would find themselves working together under human mediation. The slave trade would become a thing of the past, as human patrol fleets made it too dangerous to operate. And at the center of it all would be a princess who had been saved by a soldier, and who had in turn saved him from a life of endless warfare. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. When humans decided to protect something, they didn't do it halfway. They brought everything they had, and they never gave up. And sometimes that was enough to change the universe.